Up next, we got Sijara Eubanks and Elise Reed. As always, guys, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, get me close to that 1,000 mark so I can start posting my picks on the community tab on YouTube. But Elise Reed, that's pretty much a brand spanking new rookie on the UFC scene. She made a name for herself with the Cage Free promotion, very much a quality over quantity when you look at her, just 25 years old still. And I mean, the experience on the amateur scene pretty much got her a Bellator debut, got the win. And ever since then, 4-0 with Cage Fury, winning the title. Now, I mean, what's interesting about that is the fight that she won the title, it seemed like it was fairly short notice of some kind. And the big thing for me was that she actually won a split decision where in watching the fight, I thought that Jasmine Jasudavicius did a very good job of securing takedowns when she needed to and all those big moments where the exchanges were happening. So it's very interesting to see that went her way. But outside of that, she's just got so much heart. She's got pretty good durability. I found that even against a good grappler in Hillary Rose, she was very much getting herself out of dangerous submission spots, was then finding ways to do her own damage, and she ended up finishing the fight via ground and pound at the very, last second. Keith Peterson, Dominic Cruz's best friend, called it quits right there, and she ended up defending that title, which is now what's getting her, opportunities in the UFC. So amazing career trajectory right from 2019 up until 2021. And the things that we do like about her, I mean, she does have a lot to learn. I think she's going to come in very raw, but she can handle a lot that's being thrown at her. The thing is that when you talk about Sijara Eubanks and the wrestling, the people she doesn't do very well against are these really good MMA strikers. What I mean by that is the fighters who can actually withstand a good wrestler that might not have the best striking or the best cardio for a round and then start to do some of their own damage. I mean, you look at the Penny Kansas fight, and it was very much that. Even when Sijara Eubanks got the takedown, she wasn't able to do very much. And on the feet, she was just getting completely outstruck at all levels of the fight, whether it's, legs, body, head. It was just a complete demolition. And so that's how she seems to lose her fights. 2 losses to Aspen Ladd. And, it's funny, is Aspen Ladd to me falls under that category. Pretty good grappler, very much improving cardio, and a pretty good striker. So when you take in those types of fights and the types of losses she's had, it's just a really interesting, 29-28 type of fighter where, if the first round doesn't go her way, she kind of makes a comeback late. But if it does go her way, she ends up kind of getting tired and losing momentum towards the end part of that fight. I do like that she's only lost to some of the bigger names in UFC. Roxanne Modafferi is a name that she's kind of taken down a couple times. So for me, it's just such a tough fight to call similar to the last one, because when you're breaking these fights down, I mean, we can go into the Mowgli fight that we just talked about too. It's like when that path to victory seems so finite, it really is, a chess match, and it's up to the fighters, and we're just out here having fun and for the sport that we love. And in this case, I really am leaning towards Eubanks the more research I do on it. But at the same time, there is something to say about Reed as just an overall prospect, and the idea that if she can withstand that first round and get out of the wrestling, I'm very much thinking she can win this fight. And that's where, unfortunately, I'm still such a toss-up. I think that her takedown defense in Cage Fury was pretty interesting. But outside of that, it's like it's such a different level when you get to the UFC, and we're talking about a primo wrestler like Sijara Eubanks. And so outside of that, paths to victory are pretty clear, right? I think that Reed definitely needs to avoid the takedown. She's going to be able to do that just by staying at range, gauging those big shots. She's got such nice elbows in that clinch work. And so if you're able to force Sijara Eubanks to strike in the beginning, work for takedowns, you can start getting opportune areas in the clinch, right? Start landing those big elbows, start landing those big knees, because that's where I think that you can see Reed really gets her game going. She actually very much enjoys the close quarters. And so if she does have to fight that distance game for a round, I think it seals up a pretty solid path for her, especially as rounds 2 and 3 come about. And now with Eubanks, it's pretty clear, right? I think that she has to work past the strikes, manage those, big breaths. I think that for her, the cardio for some reason just seems to leave her towards the end of fights. And in this case, she can just manage that, even if it's a couple takedowns, not taking too much damage on the feet. It's just really easy to say, but at the end of the day, sometimes you have to plow through to avoid the just standing there and waiting for moments, right? In those times, you can probably just take a ton of damage and just miss your opportunity altogether. So in this case, it would be interesting to see if she could just bulldoze her way through, get those takedowns when she needs to, and then just very much technically work her way. I think that despite the durability and the way that Reed has been able to overcome such big, bad areas of some of her fights, I think that Eubanks can be smarter. Don't give her those opportunities to reverse submissions and get on top. I think that if you're able to really work a wrestling mentality with some ground and pound, you should be able to utilize your strengths to get that victory. So outside of that, I think it's pretty clear that there's very simple areas for both girls to win. The very, cool thing about Elise Reed is just how long she's been kind of in the pro area, which isn't very long, but now getting fights like Eubanks already in the UFC. That is what should be taken with a grain of salt, because like I said, even with that 7-6, 6-6 record, it's kind of different in different areas, but she's only lost to some of the best fighters, and all of them are in the UFC. So without further ado, let's take a look at the lines. I think Eubanks deserves to be a favorite just because of the tail of the tape and just everything that she's done in her career versus Elise Reed just getting her feet wet. But let's take a look. It could be close. And there it is, minus 304 for Sijara Eubanks and plus 235 for Elise Reed. She's very raw, lot to learn, and I think in this situation you're dealing with an elite level fighter, in this case, a wrestler. It's going to eliminate a lot of the areas where I think Reed has found success, and so this line makes a lot of sense. Do I believe there's a dog opportunity? 100%, because Sijara Eubanks can let you down later in fights, especially if she can't really get momentum going. So I think that line's a bit high in general, just because of what we've seen from her. But like I said, that record speaks for itself, and I think that's going to be a really fun fight to watch.